Hey bosses, it's Arjun from Asian Boss. Did you know that India, which is the largest democracy in the world, still has royal families? Well, today we are actually standing in front of a royal palace and we are going to meet a prince. Not just any prince, he's the first openly gay prince the world has ever seen. Are you curious to hear his story? Let's go meet him. नमस्ते नमस्ते मैं यहाँ मनवेंद्र जी से मिलने आया हूँ।
हाँ जी, आपका ही वेट कर रहा था सर जी।
अच्छा, मैं उनसे मिल सकता हूँ?
हाँ, मिल सकते हो।
धन्यवाद धन्यवाद। आइए आइए।
आइए।
Hi sir.
Oh, hi. How are you?
Hi sir, I'm Arjun from Asian Boss. It's really nice to meet you.
Yeah, same here. Welcome to the palace. Welcome to the Rajvan Palace.
Sir, like I've never been in a palace before and I'm really dying to have a look around. Is it possible like you could give us a small tour?
Sure, I can take you on a tour to some of the rooms, but not all, because you can understand we have some private spaces.
Okay.
But yes, we can start off with this room itself. So this is the Darbar Hall, it's called, which is the main sitting room for the royal family. Something very interesting about this hall is that we had hosted the first Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, in this very hall, and a lot of other dignitaries have come here, but this hall has seen a lot of people all over the world, a lot of celebrities, Hollywood, and Ian Fleming, who used to make James Bond.
Yeah, Ian Fleming.
Yes, he was my great-grandfather's friend. He has visited and we have hosted him here.
It's quite a historic place to see.
Yes,
the
yes,
least, right?
definitely. Let me walk you through some other parts of the palace. This is called the reception room, and if you look on your right, you find this beautiful painting portrait of my great grandfather, Maharaja Chhatra Singh Ji. He was the one who made this palace, so he gave this palace as a wedding gift to his son, my great grandfather, when he got married in 1910, and he was the one who was invited for Delhi Darbar and met with the king and queen of England, and they celebrated Delhi becoming the capital. If you look on the left side, that's how the palace looked when he originally made this in 1910. It was not as it is now. There are a lot of changes have been made.
Is having servants look after you something you grew up with?
I've grown up with servants, and I remember even for asking for a glass of water, I didn't have to just clap and the water would arrive. So yeah, I've been quite used to having servants around. In fact, when I was growing up in Mumbai, in a place like Mumbai, you can imagine, I had 22 servants at one point of time. So there were different kinds of service: domestic help, gardeners, cleaners, butlers, drivers, cook, guard.
So like you are a prince, right? So like are you like can you just go outside and be among the people, or like do you need to be around, do you need to carry bodyguards with you?
In the past, I did follow some royal protocols of, like, not going out unless I have to inform them in advance that okay, yes, I'm coming, and so they would do their preparations and all. But now things have changed, times have changed. I have kind of broken a lot of barriers in my life, so I have started going out. But yeah, of course, in a very restricted manner. Like, still I don't know where the vegetable market is.
Foreigners might not be even aware that there are royal families in India, right? And I think India abolished monarchy back in 1950. So like currently, how many royal families are there in India?
During the British rule until 1948, I'm guessing around 500 odd families were there. Some of them have dwindled down because of financial issues, and some have had no heir apparent, so they also kind of vanished. I'm guessing as of now around 300 odd families are still existing, small and big, I mean, spread all over the country.
How does it exactly work? Is there like one royal family for every Indian city or state?
Earlier, the places were known as per the region. Like, for example, Rajpipla was one of the princely states it was not even called Rajpipla, it was called Nandod. Nandod was the name of that kingdom. Now nobody even knows what is Nandod. You know, the place Nandod is not to be heard much except in government records. Based on the names of these princely states, these regions were there, which were a group of cities or group of towns.
So, how would you describe your role or your duties as a prince?
Now the things are very much different than in the past. I mean, I'm sure in the past, even not my father, but my grandfather and great grandfather, they had different sets of duties, because this whole province or this whole state was being not just administered by them, but they were also the taking care of the army, the armed forces, the defense, and management of this estate and everything. Now things have changed, so we have been reduced to mere ceremonial roles. Of course, it comes with a lot of roles and responsibilities. It's not easy to to be a custodian also, because you get inherited with not just palaces, but many things like animal trophies, guns, ammunition, silverware, crockery, cutlery, textiles, many things, So all those things need to be taken care of because they have been passed on from generation to generation. Another important role, I think, which we are playing now, as of now, is that we are the ambassadors of our regions. Whenever there's any issue, whenever there is any crisis, for example, I'll give just last year during the second wave, the doctors came to me. They said, sir, the hospitals are not having enough of oxygen, and there's no proper ventilators for the COVID patients. So I kind of spoke to the government and got the oxygen and everything arranged for the hospital. So they come to us with these kind of problems, and then it's expected for us, because we, being from the royal family, we get appointments with politicians much easier, because we are the ones who have handed this to the government, so they also respect us more, and we get to they get to hear us faster. I've also started doing arbitration. I mean, I'm a law student as well, and a lot of people come to me with their cases, and because they don't believe in the Indian judicial system, because they trust the royal families more than they trust the politicians or the government, because we are the ones who have created this. Government, see, politicians are there for their votes. Today they are there in power, tomorrow they may not be in power. Government is there because they get elected or they get appointed, and they are also on a transferable jobs, whereas we are always here.
Just to be clear, like, as a prince, do you have any political power or executive power?
No, there is no like a power of that sort. But yes, we are definitely on committees. I am on various committees appointed by the government. Like I am representing the entire state of Gujarat for the health committee, which is chaired by the health minister himself, particularly on the HIV/AIDS issues. So we sit on the board, and there, of course, we have the power to address some issues which we think is important.
So what does your day look like, a typical day look like as a prince?
Definitely there's no fixed routine, because there's no 9 to 5 kind of a job that I have to do that, but it's like very flexible, depending on I have to answer emails or I have to take phone calls, some interviews happening. Sometimes we get invited for inaugurating some event or opening up a shop. My personal interests are I love nature. I love animals. I rescue animals. I'm a musician, so I listen to a lot of music, Indian classical music. I play upon harmonium. So yeah, so those are part of my routine.
So we understand that you're the first prince in India to come out as gay. Can you share how did you become aware of your real identity? When did you become sure of it?
So you'll be surprised, but it took me almost 30 years of my life to get to know my sexual identity. The reason behind this is, first of all, being raised in a royal family. It has its own protocols and no exposure, no communication with outside world. And even though I knew I was different, but I didn't have a name for it. I'll give you examples. Like when I was growing up, I was attracted towards the same sex. I studied in a co-ed school, but I didn't like the way boys treated the girls, and I didn't like the way the boys were, kind of bullying them and all. I was the only boy in the class which protected the girls. I had a lot of girlfriends in school, but in the sense that no sexual attraction towards them. And I didn't know the name for that why I'm behaving in this manner and all. And I ended up even getting married to a girl when I came to marriageable age, because I didn't see anything wrong with in getting married, because I didn't know anything about my sexuality. And it's after my marriage happened, and then it didn't work out, and then it kind of ended in a divorce, and my ex-wife telling me that, please don't do it with anyone else, and don't spoil another girl's life and all. So when I got divorced in 1992, after 15 months of my marriage, the reason which was given was impotency due to non-consummation of marriage due to impotency, which was ruled out because I went and proved myself in the court that I am not impotent. But then the blame game in India normally goes towards the girl side, which is very common. Nobody was blaming me. They had no doubts about my sexuality or anything, because my impotency was also ruled out, because the medical report said that I was not impotent. And so then they said, oh, that definitely the girl's character must be something which didn't allow this marriage to happen the way it should. I realized that I have to explore my sexual self, and in that exploration, I got in touch with someone called Ashok Rao Kavi, who happened to be India's first gay activist, who came out in 1980s, and he was the one who was my counselor. I was his client, and while talking to him, while narrating to him my childhood experiences, he said, look, it's clear and cut that what you have experienced as a child is nothing else but homosexuality. And he helped me come to terms with my sexuality and gave me an identity, and I identified myself as a self-identified gay man at the age of 30. So it took a while for me to understand myself and to kind of explore.
Like, how would you describe Indian society's perception of homosexuality back then?
We had a poem in school, and it was interesting. Work while you work and play while you play, that is the way to be happy and gay. And when the word gay would come, it was all hushed up, as if saying gay was something wrong, So you can imagine even speaking the word gay was a problem, so people would not like to even talk about this subject. And I don't blame them, I blame their ignorance, and I blame their education system for their not having proper awareness on this subject, which was existing in our culture, in our country since bygone era. And we have evidence of that. We have Kama Sutra, which was written 500 years before Jesus Christ was born, which has a chapter totally dedicated on homosexuality, on lesbianism, transgenderism. We have temples like Khajuraho, which are centuries old, and they also have open depiction of homoerotic forms of statues and sculptures. And yet in our country, in our culture, people are so hypocritical about this fact, and they say, oh, this did not exist in our culture and it's a Western influence.
Why do you think like sex education, especially and especially something related as LGBT rights, hasn't found its way to education?
See, I think Britishers are could be held responsible to a great extent, because Britishers, they changed our education system. It was like, I remember reading about this guy called Lord Macaulay, who was there during the Queen Victoria's rule, who had changed the entire education system of India for their own vested interest. So even like when I say that these things were existing in our culture and why it was not taught in our education system goes to show that our education system is the issue, where the basic sex education is not taught. And I have studied in one of the best schools of Bombay, called Bombay Scottish School, where when we had our biology lecture, and our teacher used to come and talk to us about the human reproductive system. They used to tell us about the secondary sexual characteristics of zebras and lions and lionesses, and I used to wonder why they're teaching us about animals. I don't want to have a sex with a giraffe or a zebra, it doesn't make sense. So that's the sex education which they teach us, So how are they going to people going to know about the issues of LGBT? That's even a step further.
Do you have any examples of how a gay person would be treated back then?
See, there is always a lot of stigma and discrimination attached to us. So long as we are in the closet, it's fine. Nothing happens. The moment we open our mouth, or the moment we are discovered, the people come to know that we are gay, or we tell people about our sexuality, that's when hell breaks loose. So, like for example, you start from school. You know, there's a lot of bullying happening in school. Back home, the parents, they are ill-treating you. They think it's something, there's something wrong with you, you need to be treated, it's a disease, it's a disorder. There have been cases where you get thrown out from home also, because the parents can't keep you at home with this kind of a behavior. They think that we have done something wrong and something really cruel, and something which is against the culture and things like that. And when you go out in society at large, people ill-treat you. You get ill-treated in medical hospitals. You get ill-treated at workplace. There's a discrimination at workplace also happening, where again the favors are given to the heterosexual population, whereas amongst the homosexuals, they are not given proper treatment, they are not given promotions, some of them are sacked from jobs. So every part of your life, whether you are at home or you're at school or you're at workplace, wherever you go, we are always faced with a lot of stigma and discrimination.
Knowing that people had this perception, like did you ever want to come out, or like was there a moment in your life where you thought I could just keep this hidden forever?
See, in my case, I think it was important for me to kind of talk about it. I thought for a larger cause. I said, people like me are suffering, and somebody has to make a sacrifice. Let me put my life on stake. And doesn't matter if I will be subject to all kinds of stigma and discrimination.
So how did you end up coming out?
So basically, I was just waiting for an opportunity that I got to meet a journalist who kind of was looking for a story, and she found my story very interesting, of being born in a royal family and being closeted as gay. And then she approached me and said, would you like to do share your story with me? And I was just, as I said, I was just waiting for that opportunity. I said, yes, of course. She said, well, you should be careful about the consequences which will happen. I said, yeah, I know what are the consequences. You just do the story. Yes, definitely I want the story to come out in a very, very positive manner, not like showing any negative aspects of homosexuality. If you can promise me that, then I'm willing to share the story. So I did the story. It was the breaking news of the day. The Prince of Rajpipla declares he is homosexual. It came out in a Gujarati newspaper, and yeah, rest is history.
So let's go to the day when you decided to come out. You're a public figure, and I think it must have been crazy. So could you just walk us through on the day, like you decided to come out, like what were the reactions of the people?
So I was in Mumbai that time, and the first thing, I get a call at 6:30 in the morning from my secretary, and he says, wow, you just hit the headlines and you're going to become really very famous, and my full support for you. And he was then around 85 years of age, my secretary, and full support for me. He said, whatever you've done, I fully support you, and hats off to you. So that was the first call, and thereafter there were innumerable number of calls. My phone battery actually died, answering them, because there were so many calls coming. One call was closed and the other one was already ringing, So my battery literally died, and phone calls coming from all over the country, and even I started getting calls from abroad also, because then this news was copied in the English newspaper. So the news started coming in English and Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, all other vernacular newspapers. So I started getting calls from people who were calling me and telling me, you should call the newspaper and tell them that I'm going to sue them for giving the fake news. I said, no, it's not a fake news. I have given the news myself. So they said, no. Imagine people are in they are still in shock, and they are thinking that what you have done, and it's going to bring a bad name to the culture. I said, whatever it's going to happen, I'm ready for that, but I'm not going to go to the newspaper and say that what I said is wrong. So people, some had not even known or not heard the word homosexual, because the actual word homosexual was printed in English, in Gujarati. So the people were looking up dictionaries to find out what does this homosexual mean, and what is this, something wrong with our prince, or what has happened, is he got some disease, or he's got some disorder, or what has happened. So there was all utter state of confusion and shock and anger, and the newspapers sold like hotcakes. Not a single newspaper was available. In fact, I also didn't get a copy. The papers got sold off. I had to tell the editor to send me the copy by courier, because the papers just got sold. And then they cut my photograph which was there in the newspaper, and they made my effigy out of that. And the entire town got together, and when they lit the bonfire, they threw those effigies of mine in the fire, saying that he's brought shame and humiliation to the family, he should be stripped of his title, excommunicated, exiled, shouldn't be allowed to participate in any events, and he's brought shame, and he's gone against the culture of not just the royal families but of the entire country. And there were almost close to 5,000 people protesting. The whole town was protesting. Police was called. So you can imagine it was what kind of, quite eventful, quite a lot of drama. My parents surprisingly were silent. They didn't say anything, didn't make any comments, nothing. They just shut the doors. I'm sure media must have been hounding them, but they kind of didn't react to it. It was only the people who were creating this drama.
Like, before you decided to break this news, like, did you have a chat with the people close to you, with your parents?
See, my parents actually knew about my sexuality 4 years prior to my coming out in the public, because in 2002, that's 4 years before 2006, I had suffered a serious nervous breakdown, and I was hospitalized, and the doctor was treating me. He fortunately happened to be quite LGBT friendly, the psychiatrist, and he helped me to come out to my parents. So they came to know about my sexuality much before I made this public declaration. But they had this fear that, fine, our son is gay, which they didn't accept that easily. But they always had this fear that what if this royal secret goes out in public? They were not prepared for that.
Why is it such a big deal if a member from the royal family is gay in the first place?
In India, still I am the only royal who has come out as gay to the public. There are people in Europe and other countries who have come out. So now I'm not the only one. There are many others. But yes, I did create the history by becoming the first member of a royal family. Everyone is scared or concerned about their status and their reputation and all, because they think, oh, if suppose we make this statement, then we'll be doomed, and the people will start disrespecting us, and all our respect and honor and whatever people have held for us, it will go. We still remain to be the custodians of this rich cultural heritage which has been acquired from our ancestors, and we have to continue this legacy, and we have to continue this royal lineage, which is, mine is around 650 years old. So there's this expectations from the people of the town that who is going to be the next heir to the throne, who is going to be the next person who will be carrying the lineage. And these questions have arisen in the past and in the present also, that how is this dynasty going to go forward? And I have answered these questions and said, look, this dynasty is not going to end. Dynasties like these will continue. We have had a lot of adoptions in royal families. In fact, my own dynasty started with an adoption in the 13th century when it began. It was a Parmar dynasty which was taken over by the Gohil dynasty because of an adoption. So there will be adoption happening in this dynasty as well. There will be somebody to take over and take charge and to continue it, and it's not going to end with me.
This is interesting to me that the adoptions do happen in royal families. I didn't know this actually. So we talked about that eventful day, and there were many reactions, right? Yeah. So like, how did you feel about those reactions? Was it something you already expected to happen?
I got a call from the media in the evening. They said that, well, these are the things which have happened. What do you have to say? I said, I don't blame the people. I blame their ignorance on the subject. And it is a duty of me as an activist to educate those people and to remove that ignorance from their minds, and then only they will accept. And I said another thing. I said, I'm pretty sure a day will come very soon when these same very people who have burnt my effigies are going to come back to me, fall on my feet, because I am the only crown prince of Rajpipla, and they will not be able to get a prince on hire. Right. So when they will have a crisis, they will have a problem, they will come back to me, whether I am gay or whatever I am, they are bound to come back to me.
So I think when you decided to come out, I think it must have been very tough, right?
Yeah.
So like, what was the thing that you were most afraid of, or like very terribly afraid of?
See, the worst thing which could have happened to me, I would have been killed. You know, nothing worse than that can happen to anyone who tries to make this kind of a step. So I said, doesn't matter. I mean, if one life goes, the movement is not going to stop with my just kind of, getting. And I did receive death threats also. At first, I I didn't take it that seriously. But then I said, no, I must at least protect somebody who's with me. I mean, I literally used to check like the brakes of the car and kind of, trying not to eat anything from strangers because, I could be poisoned. Or, when I travel, then I would just be wary about where I'm going and what I'm doing, because you can easily be, murdered and then labeled as an accident. So yeah, so those were the kind of worries which were there.
If you don't mind, could you share more details? What happened back then? Were you like afraid to go out, and like would you take bodyguards with you?
Yeah, so see, what had happened was when I gave the interview, my coming out interview, I said I may be the first member of the royal family in the world to come out, but not the only one. Which means that I knew of certain members of the royal family who are gay, but they are hiding in the closet. And when they read the news, then they were like, quite felt threatened that, oh, now this guy has kind of, come out now, very soon he is going to out us, So those were the category of people who felt threatened, and they decided that, they must shut me down. And I had no reason to out anyone. That's their life. They want to remain in closet. That's their life, But they felt that I would be, outing them and all that. I mean, and the only way they can shut me down is death. Simple, and it happens. Royal families, there are so many controversies happen, like so many murders happen and conspiracies happen, and they all go all hidden, underground. Nobody even comes to know how somebody has died. It's just an accident. I consider myself very lucky that I've actually met my assassin.
You met your assassin?
Yes, and why I'm lucky is because, I mean, those who before you meet their assassin, you are already dead,
Right.
So I'm laughing now, but it was quite a serious conversation. So this guy, he comes to me one day and he says that I want to talk to you something confidentially. So I said, okay. She said, no, not here. I want to talk to you something in private. So then he takes me to a corner and then he says, I was hired to kill you. I said, wow, where is your weapon? Where is yours? I'm just standing here. Kill me. What are you doing? He said, no, unfortunately it flopped because whatever reasons, like, it didn't happen. But why I am come to you is that I wanted to confess and confide to you that, and I am feeling very guilty about it. So I thought before I die, I want to come and meet you, and I want to apologize, and I would like you to pardon me for even thinking about it. I said, no, you are just doing your duty, as an assassin. You were under a contract. Come, let's go and have some coffee. And this guy has become such a good friend of mine, my assassin.
Okay, he's a friend of yours now.
Assassin, and he has become my ally. Can you imagine? Yeah. He has become my ally. He is going around telling people, please support the prince, please support his cause. And at one point of time, imagine, he was hired to kill me. So how things have changed, how just mere education and mere awareness can change a person's perception from being a murderer to becoming a friend.
What about now? Do you feel safe now, or do you still feel like a potential target?
See, I am safe, and like why I am safe is because I am treading the path of honesty, and I know that honest people's lives are full of hurdles, full of obstacles, and one has to face that, no doubt about it, but honesty will always win. I feel safe. I'm doing my work. I'm kind of trying to protect people's lives. I'm trying to help people out. So I have now crossed those barriers where that I need to be concerned about myself or anything of that sort.
So like, what's your relationship status right now?
So I was single for a long time, but in 2013 I found a partner, and I've been married to an American man. We got married in US, and yes, I'm partnered now.
As far as I know, like India doesn't recognize gay marriages, right? So like,
No.
how did that work out?
Yeah, India doesn't recognize gay marriages, but there are a lot of couples in India who are married and living like, married socially, I would say, not legally, and are living a happy married life. At least I would say much happier than the so-called heterosexual couples who just kind of pretend that, they are happy and successful and all. In fact, I had two marriages. I got married in Oregon, which is his birthplace, and I also got married in Washington State, in Seattle, which is where he was adopted into a family. We met basically as friends. That's how it happened. I mean, we didn't meet as partners. We met as friends. He came to India as a tourist, and I helped him go around the country and whatever he needed to do. And for just 2 or 3 years, we just met as friends, and then it just got converted into a relationship. And yeah, he's been accepted by my family, and he's very popular here amongst the people of the town. Like they just adore him. They like the way he dresses. He likes to dress in Indian clothes like the way I do. He doesn't, even in spite of being American, he's like more Indian than I am also, in many ways. So people of Rajpipla love him. My friend circle also, they like him a lot.
India's jurisdiction doesn't recognize, I think, gay marriages, right? So like, are there any like legal punishments which the law could apply?
See, there are no legal punishments, but yeah, there are certain protocols one needs to follow. Like since he's not recognized as my spouse in India, his status is just like a tourist. He's an American tourist here, so he has to follow the tourist the visa as per the tourist. Like he cannot stay in India for consecutively more than 6 months. So he has to leave India every 6 months and go to any part of the world except India for just 48 hours and then return back. So he chooses to go to Nepal. He goes to Nepal and comes back. So gay marriages in India are not legalized, but at the same time, it's not criminalized also. You can live as a gay couple in India. Socially, you can get acceptance, but legally you cannot get an acceptance. But otherwise, it's not criminal. You can live your life the way you want to.
Do you feel like Indian society is slowly but steadily becoming more friendly with LGBTQ rights?
See, Indian society, if you ask me, is getting better day by day. And when I say Indian society, it's the younger generation. The youth of today are much aware, and they want to be aware. And it will take time, because now the older generation is all dying and the young generation is coming in. And that's the reason one needs to concentrate on the education system. If we are able to change the mindset of the youth, then the young youth are the future of our country, future of our culture. And we can expect a much better, aware, informed citizens of this country if we are able to change the mindset of the youth.
How is your relationship with your parents at the moment?
So I think, see, my relationship with my parents had become normalized just few months after I came out, because they realized that that the whole act of their disowning me, disinheriting me, and whatever they did with me was illegal. Media and influential people like Oprah, and then even coming on the show like the Kardashian show, that also helped a lot of them in India, and especially my parents and my family, to understand that if an influential voice is there which says positively about these issues, then there's definitely some truth or something substance to my fight. So that made them realize that they should change. My parents are fine with me. There's absolutely no problem. And on the contrary, my father has gone to the extent of becoming a very strong ally for me. Earlier he was homophobic. Now he's an ally. He's very proud of me. He talks about me in the open, in the public. He tells people that you should accept him the way he is, and because he is attached to a cause. And he also gifted me a 15 acres of his royal establishment where I'm developing a LGBT shelter home. And the foundation stone of that shelter home was also laid by him. So you can imagine, there is acceptance, then only we will be doing these kind of things.
We have heard that you do a lot of social work too. So could you tell us about your NGO and the kind of work you do with your NGO?
Yeah, so I had started an organization called Lakshya Trust, which was founded by me and my friends around 22 years from now. And the basic idea was to give a platform to the LGBT community to come together and to address their issues and try to solve them. Fortunately, we got government support for HIV/AIDS. We were the first organization in the state of Gujarat to work for the government, state government, for HIV prevention and awareness amongst the homosexual and the transgender population. And we moved on to working on other issues like mental health issues, aging issues, working for the wives of gay men. We are doing special work on transgender issues, legal issues, and a lot of rights based issues, providing job opportunities to them, starting shelter homes. My real award is when people come and tell me that yes, our lives have changed. So that gives me that satisfaction. And work is endless. I mean, I think what I'm doing is not going to end soon. It's going to, till I live, I'm going to be working for the cause. So every bit of my life, whatever I've devoted myself to and dedicated, I'll keep working for that cause and try to improve better on my services so that I could be more helpful to the people at large and benefit.
Sir, you surely are a very positive person despite all the things you might have gone through. So like, would you have a piece of advice to all the young people who might be feeling alienated right now just because of their identity or like how they are different from others?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, positivity is very important in life. I mean, without that, you know, we have so many other negative things coming into our way, so we tend to kind of feel depressed or, you know, stressed out. Anything which happens to us, like whether it's good or bad, it is happening for a reason. It's happening for something which should have happened. And if you take it that way, then I think you will be able to live your life in a better manner than before. One thing definitely I would like to tell the people who are kind of distressed or, you know, having some issues with themselves is something very important which I tell people is love yourself. Because self-love is very important. If you start loving yourself, automatically hatred towards others will reduce. And whether you're gay or you're straight or whatever sexuality you come from, if self-love will definitely teach you how you should judge other people and how you should behave with other people.